We have Brian Thompson, very special guest, a good buddy of mine. Brian Thompson ends up owning Zero Bullshit Insurance, or Zero BS Insurance, otherwise known as, I can never pronounce it.
Appreciate Advisors.
And that stands for?
Appreciate stands for expertise.
Expertise Advisors. Got it.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd seen your plate on there, so that was pretty cool. I'd seen that on that. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you for making the trip in town to be able to visit with me and, just talk a little bit about it. I mean, just getting right into it, I always try and be able to talk about, like, how we got to knowing each other. We had a conference that both of us mutually attended, and we had met. I think it was, like, you were come over, and it was, like, about the cheeseburger. I had this like amazing cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Remember the thing was like 10 burgers tall or something like that. I don't know. I mean, am I giving me a award or something like that to eat the whole thing? But yeah, we had just started talking and kind of like instantly hit it off, and really got to knowing you and your family and just about your business and what you guys do, and super impressed of, all the things that you do, not only as a business owner and just as a friend to me, of all the things that, again, that you bring to the table. So I think it's good to meet different various people, and these conferences are definitely a way to do that. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt. I don't always try and go to the conferences anymore just to like hear the speakers. Like, I mean, that's a nice thing, but like you can only hear about like how a person takes so many cold showers in a day, or like pisses excellence so many different times, or how amazing that this, thing has been, the stories from top to bottom. But what I found really interesting was something that me and you were talking about at dinner last night. Was you had talked about, I mentioned about being a debit agent when I first started in the insurance business, and you were like, wow, I was kind of like, we weren't too terribly far off, and we found even more relation. But something you said to me really, really stuck with me last night, where you had said, if you went back 10, 11, 12 years ago, I was basically like almost on food stamps. Mm-hmm. And now you've built yourself this massive empire that you're serving all these different various people. But tell me a little bit about your start, your business, like how you got into this, and, just a little bit about you and your company, and, just let us know.
Well, my introduction to the insurance industry was working for a large national carrier, international carrier, in their variable annuity call center.
Okay.
At the end of 2008. So while the market is crashing, I'm taking all the inbound phone calls.
Got it.
From people that have been on hold for 3 hours.
Oh.
Watching their retirement savings go down with the stock market. So that was my introduction to insurance, and I'm still here.
Yeah.
So
a little resistance.
They had a bad quarter that year, just like everybody else did, and downsized their call center. And I went from there. Nobody was hiring at the end of 2008, beginning of 2009. So I responded to an ad, and Aflac gave me a chance to come prove what I could do with Aflac.
I've served some time in Aflac's stuff as well. Packaged it
if
together.
Nothing else, they teach you how to work.
I mean, that's one thing I would say. So I worked for a short period of time also for a company called American Income Life. Mm-hmm. And I would hire anybody from them, Reliable, Aflac, because this is like, I almost want to call it like the Marines of insurance. They just teach these guys to just grind. And I mean, I grinded harder than ever during that time. But I started in life insurance and being the debit agent. And, we talked about how you would go and you didn't have leads like you have now today.
Right.
Like you went to go collect money from mom or grandma or, dad or whoever, and generally not so great areas. And you would have a lot of people that would dodge you, know. And then I was telling you about the FedEx guy the other night, and just kind of how I had seen where, these people just like were not responding. Like they just like wouldn't show up to their appointments and everything else. I'm showing up to collect money for their insurance. But, we're trying to get referrals, and people knew that, right? So that's how we got our leads, was to get the referrals from the person we were collecting money from. There was, again, no Facebook. There was none of the social media and everything that we deal with today. The resources were very slim. But like you had said, you still killed it in the market.
Right, absolutely. My favorite, and I wish we could still find a way to do this today. My favorite thing about starting with Aflac was they had what they called your off days.
Yeah.
You spent 2 days and you didn't do anything but go out and cold call businesses. And the overcoming fear of failure is what off stood for. Basically, they're just trying to see, will you even get out of the car? Will you actually walk into a business? And I went to lunch the first day and told my manager that I'd set 11 appointments, and she's like, "Real appointments?" I said, "Yeah."
Right.
So it was that's what I had never worked a job before where I reaped the benefits of my own hard work.
Yeah.
And once I started to see the benefits of what I was able to do, the harder I worked, the more I worked. If I'd get up and go to work in the morning, the more money I'd make, the more people I could help, the more business I could do, the more I could. One of the things I think back to, especially when I was just getting started doing that, things are tight when you're starting out as an insurance agent. You don't have any renewals at all. You don't have anything, but you're eating what you kill. And I took my daughter to the grocery store on her birthday, and what do you want for dinner? We're going to make anything you want. We picked up a cake mix, and we got everything she wanted. And I stand in the line at the check stand, and I pulled out my phone, checked my checking account, and we went and put everything back. And I think we had macaroni and cheese that night.
Man, I've really been there, and like we talked a little bit. We touched on this last night. We were eating good last night, but at one point in time, both of us were not eating so good.
No.
I used to have like the rule of 3 is like you're either feeding from me, buying from me, or referring me, right?
Yep.
And I'm not proud of it to say this, but if there was ever like a gas can or something in somebody's garage or whatever, it was pretty certain that I was going to take it because that was the way that I was surviving. I didn't have a fallback plan. I didn't have a supportive family around me. And that's essentially like what this insurance business built for me was I didn't have that family. They became my family.
Right.
The agency became my family. And I'll tell you, I remember like a specific event that kind of like changed all of this for me was I was in Piedmont, Missouri, right? It's like some little town down in southern Missouri, almost near Cape Girardeau. And I didn't have the gas to get home. And I had probably a 2-hour drive to get home. And this is back in the day, like where you could fill your tank for like $40. Now it's like per gallon, But at the end of the day, I filled up my gas, and I'm sitting there debating whether or not to take off, to just gas and go. And I walked in, and I told the lady inside of the gas station, I didn't have the money to pay for it. Wasn't proud of it. I filled up. I said, could I, like, it was like, can I wash some dishes sort of thing? Like I was like, I can stock your shelves. I can help you, ring people out. I can do, wash people's car windows or something, And she said, you don't owe anything for gas for you coming in here, we'll take care of you. And she gave me $50. And she said, get yourself something to eat and go on home. Well, years later, I went back down to find this lady, and she, it's a small town, right?
Yeah.
So she was working at the gas station, and I went down there, and I don't think she recognized me because I don't know if like at some point in time during my 20s I hit puberty, So I ended up getting I took $1,000 down to her, and because she gave me $100, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, the rule of 10 or whatever, but I gave her $1,000, and she didn't want to take it. What was ironic in that is that this lady probably had nothing, and she wanted to give me everything. And you've got people out here that have everything, and they don't want to give you nothing.
Right.
And I said, I insist, like, you are gonna take this money. Like, you helped me, you changed my life. Like, you have no idea. Like, I don't know if I would have made it. And there's been a lot of different occurrences like that. You know, I mean, we talked about people not showing up for appointments. And I'd seen the FedEx guy go up to the door, and he puts this little note on the door. And, you know, as he's walking back to the truck, I'd like slide up on him, you know, and I'm like, do people really answer that? He was like, every time, man, like clockwork. He said, they'll call you as soon as they get back. Let me get a couple of stacks of those things. So I grabbed a couple of stacks of the Post-it notes, which I ended up like making photocopies and like my own stuff and all that, and like whited out the FedEx label. And I would put it on their door and I'd say, you know, sorry we missed you.
Yep.
I have your package. Call me when you can. So they would call me. I'd just be like, yeah, when are you going to be back home? Or, you know, I'm going to be probably 4 or 5. And, you know, maybe we had this appointment at noon. And I'm like, okay. I was like, well, I'll show up there. I'll deliver the package. Yep. And I walk up to the door. And I would show them, like, they had, like, the postcard. You were supposed to show them the postcard and everything, right? And I would say, hey, here's the postcard. I'm your package. And I'd start walking in, and before you knew it, it was, you know, we were sitting down, and like I said, I was either getting fed or getting checked. So one of the two, or referrals. But anyway, tell me, how did the Zero BS insurance, how did that start? Like, what came about with that? I remember that you had told me this was a really interesting story.
Well, it started about 5 years ago. I had been working with a marketing firm, and she wanted to come in and do an interview with me. And she said, after a couple hours, she says, why don't you just, you are the no bullshit of insurance. Why don't you just market that? And I took that and I kind of tucked it in my back pocket and didn't do anything with it. Thought about it for a couple of years, played with it a little bit, worked on a brand a little bit, but didn't really do anything. Yeah. And then this year I needed an insurance license in California for some agents that I brought on. And I submitted Parisha advisors to California, and California says, no, you can't do that. I said, what do you mean? I don't understand. They said, well, advisors, we don't allow advisors in California. We want to be very clear that you're selling something. So it has to say sales or marketing. I said, okay, that makes actually perfect sense. I get that. You want clarity. And they said, and Parisha means expertise, so we don't allow experts in California either. I said, well, that actually makes a lot of sense as well. So I submitted the Zero Bullshit Insurance, and they said, yeah. Took them about 10 minutes.
Crazy to me. California's function on a whole different universe than everybody else out here. I've seen more insurance companies that have pulled out of California. There's, you know, the governor there is putting a stronghold on the Department of Insurance to where he's forcing them to go above and beyond their benefits to pay higher levels, but he's not allowing any kind of insurance increases. Right. So, well, that doesn't work. Like, you can only have so much capacity in a claim to be able to make any kind of profit. And I guess they forget that, you know, sometimes people go to work to get profit. And as a result of it, I mean, I've seen more insurance companies that have pulled out of the state of California. There's a lot of companies that they have also, you have to have like an actual location. So like for me personally, I am licensed in 48 states. So we have non-resident licenses for our company and for me and all my agents in those different various states. But now the companies, what they're doing is they're starting to retract back, and you have to have a physical location in that particular state to be able to participate. Now, luckily, we had a lot of that already set up, and luckily we had a great relationship with a lot of carriers, so we didn't take really the hit like a lot of people did. There's a lot of agents that were really hurting as a result of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, the other thing here too, you know, going into the marketing aspect of it, right? So marketing is so important, but one of the common misinterpretations of marketing is that you're going to get an overnight result. And, you know, there's a lot of companies out here that they try and overpromise and most of the time fall short or underdeliver. And it's because they are trying to be able to make promises that are really more of a pipe dream. And these companies, they'll tell you that you're going to get all these results and you never see these results, and then you get upset. And then most of the time there's contracts that are involved to where you have to be in for longer terms. and you can't get out of these contracts. So it turns into a pissing match, and then it turns into, a lot of times in many cases, a lawsuit, because you have somebody that's not delivering, but yet they're still expecting for you to be able to pay. And we've seen a lot of this specifically in our market, which is where it became my mission to be able to help agents to make sure that they didn't have to end up dealing with any of the same circumstances that I had personally been through. On a marketing side of things, they can go great, but it's all about, like you were just saying, building a personality.
Building a brand, being memorable.
Yes.
That's what I love about the zero bullshit insurance is people remember that one.
I mean, they do. I mean, I got a shirt. You know what I mean? Like we were talking about that too. I was like, I go above and beyond when it comes to any of my apparel for my companies. I will not buy rags. That really comes a lot from being in the supplement industry, because the supplement industry, you'd see a lot of these guys that they would be in the gym and they wear a shirt one time or something, and we use that for marketing.
Yep.
But then they never wear it again because it was crap after that. It was like, the ones that, you get the bacon collar and like, it's just no good after.
Feels like sandpaper when you're wearing it.
Yeah. So we got the most comfortable stuff. And I was saying, I don't know what shirts you're using, but it's like, you sent me that shirt. You sent me this whole gift box, which was like incredible. I mean, I had candles and pens. That's like still like my favorite pens. I'm like a pen thief, so like undercover. But yeah, I mean, what I've noticed with you is you're so giving and you really go above and beyond. And I know that it isn't just me in friendship. I know that that's with your employees, with your family, with your customers. I know that you go above and beyond. And that's the reason why people say no BS.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about, I know it's like your hot season right now, right? Because you're in the...
Ended yesterday.
Right? Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that makes sense. All right.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about that industry and how it changed and, just a little bit about, Medicare in general.
Well, and the Medicare industry has changed so much, even just in the 10 years that I've been in the Medicare industry. When I first came in, HMO was still a 4-letter word.
Yeah.
And now HMO is the leading product in our state, at least in a lot of states that we participate in. I'm in 43 states myself.
Yeah.
When I first started, Medicare Advantage, which is my primary product, had about a 20% penetration nationwide. 2023, for the first time, over half the Medicare beneficiaries in the nation are on a Medicare Advantage plan. And it's just accelerating. So it's a fantastic market. It's great to be able to go in and take somebody and show them an option to, we've always done it this way. So I've got one of my favorite prints that I've ever had made. It's a picture of the Titanic. Mm-hmm. And then to scale, there's one of Norwegian cruise ships behind it. And it makes it look like a dinghy.
Okay.
And it says, we've always done it this way on the front of it. I don't care how you've always done it. That doesn't mean there's not a better way. So when Grandma comes to me and she's paying $600 a month for her Medicare Supplement Plan F from Blue Cross, because that's what Mom did and that's what everybody else did and that's what my friends did and that's what my insurance agent said I had to do, and I can't afford to buy food anymore. I'm eating cat food, but I'm paying my $600 a month premium for my Med Sup.
There's a rough go of this stuff for a lot of these, seniors. I know my grandmother was very much the same way. She would, no matter if this stock or this, annuity, whatever it was, if this thing was tanking, she'd say, well, my husband invested in this. Mm-hmm. Well, this is 30 years ago that your husband invested in this. She would not budge at all.
Right.
And she lost a lot in her portfolio as a result of that, till finally we went through and we said, hey, listen, like you were saying, what was good may not be good any longer. Believe it or not, like, we don't use, I guess I do still here and there use a fax machine, but that's the way we used to do business.
Right. Absolutely.
But now it's emails. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it'll be something 20 years from now or whatever. We'll probably blink and we'll be able to send a policy or something. Or,
right.
Whatever. Or it'll be a machine and we're going in fixing machines or something. Who the hell knows?
But there's always going to be advancement, and if you don't stay up with the advancements, you're going to be left behind selling. I can't even come up with a good example right now. I know a company that they decided they wanted to start selling upscale men's, like the gaiters that hold your socks up or stuff like that. And they were making them out of leather because that's the way they used to do it. And nobody'd buy them because leather's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Spandex is a whole lot better.
Right.
It works better.
Right.
So yeah, it's, people, I have people come to me with stories of Medicare Advantage. Well, 30 years ago, blah, 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 blah. I say, yeah, it's fine. What did your phone look like 30 years ago?
Yeah. Well, that's so I'll have these guys that'll come to me and they'll be like, hey, this marketing company that I'm working for has me out on social media and they're running a bunch of reels, kind of like what we'll do here to a certain degree, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll just be like, so let me understand this. You're dealing with the 70 on up crowd, right? How many of those people are turning the computer on today? How many of them have a smartphone? Like, I mean, my grandmother had like a flip phone and like the Zach Morris phone that she'd carry around, like it was like a security blanket. It was like kind of her life alert, So I'm sitting here and I'm like, this stuff doesn't work. You're not appealing to the crowd like what you're doing. You're seeing yourself, and it's great to see yourself. I'm sure, I could put myself on a billboard, and I'm sure my friends would throw things at it or something like that. But it's great to see yourself. But if you're not producing anything with that, why are these companies doing this to agents? Why are just in businesses in general? If you have to look at what crowd that you're appealing to, and you have to look at, is this a route that's going to work? Mm-hmm. And if it's not a route that's going to work, don't promise something that is not going to work.
Absolutely.
This is my biggest problem with the marketing companies out here today, is that they just cannot seem to just undersell something. Like they're just trying to get a sale, and it's very evident that they're just trying to get a sale. Mm-hmm. It's like lead companies. I mean, how many leads do you know of that you go by and it's supposed to be exclusive or like shared with like one or two people, and you call like 30 seconds into the thing when it hits your mailbox? Mm-hmm. The person's like, you're the 100th person to call me, and they're yelling at you and hanging up and everything. And I'm like, that's not a lead, and you're paying big money for these in many cases, especially nowadays. That's the reason why we decided that we were going to create our own, and we created a way for our agents to be able to have a self-generated lead that was in real time, that there was no competition that went together with it, right? It's exclusive for what kind of customer. We're vetting that customer right up ahead of time, and then we're basically just passing on the savings over to the agent so that we can help them to be able to get in touch with good quality prospects, and the lead isn't going to be trampled by the time that they got there.
Right.
I mean, it's so important, man. And so tell me a little bit about the internal workings of your business. I know that you had hired, I'm drawing a blank here. Courtney. And Courtney's a freaking rock star. This girl is like a recruiting
You two
machine.
have a romance going on Facebook.
I'm telling you, man, like we just vibe, man. Like we have the whole Frenchie thing in common over here and stuff, right?
Yep.
I'm like the dog father, I even got the shirt. So, but I'm telling you, man, like to find somebody that's great in your business and for somebody to help to grow and expand your business, it's so hard to find those kind of people.
She's motivated. She loves to come to work. She loves to help. She wants the business to succeed. I told her on Wednesday before Thanksgiving, I'm like, all right, see you next week. She says, what are you talking about? I said, what do you mean? She says, I'll be here Friday. I'm not staying home with those kids. I'm coming to work.
She's got like 10 kids or something like that, right? Yeah, I don't know. I might choose that route too. Like go into hiding at the office.
But I've never seen anybody that works as hard as she does.
I'm telling you, man, it's a rare thing.
She's worked for me for just over 6 months. She's already gotten 2 raises. The first one before I gave her first paycheck.
Yeah,
because she's just outstanding. But when you can find that person, take them and treat them right. Yeah. I mean, and then she brought to me my next hire, who she knew very well. I mean, if you hire somebody and they're not worth a crap, and then you hire their friend, you're probably getting the same person. You hire a good one and hire their friends.
Birds of a feather flock together,
Exactly.
for sure, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so difficult to find agents these days that want to go to work and that they want to be able to, I find there's a lot of agents that want that instant overnight success. I've had where there's one particular person that this person came to work for us, and they, they were knocking it out of the park. It was great, and like they would have cruised to this incredible income. Like we have a platform, a profile that like if you do this, you're going to generate this. And this person was far beyond that, but because they did not see this like over the top return right off the bat, the person became discouraged and ultimately fizzled out.
Right. Or they think it's a sprint.
Yeah. And, I'm like, we set the expectations up ahead of time that this is the path and this is about the time period that you have. So I always compare this to like a personal trainer, right? As a personal trainer, I can't make you show up. I can't make you do cardio. I can't monitor what goes in and out of your mouth. Mm-hmm. I have to trust that you're going to follow the diet plan, that you are going to do your cardio, that you are going to do your fasted cardio, like things that are going to help you to get to a result. Right. And it's not hard to see that if you don't do those things, well, then you're not going to get the result. Last time I'd seen you, you were friggin' 60 pounds or heavier?
Yeah.
And I think me as well, too. Like we're both on the diet plan that never ends. But you're doing absolutely fantastic. I'm loving seeing that. Your face looks just so much thinner, and like, I mean, you're really looking good, man.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
I mean, no homo, right? Yeah, I mean, just
going back to what you said, I tell every agent that comes on with me, I can teach you anything but attitude and activity. If you don't call anybody, start there. I can tell you where the problem is. You call 100 people, you can't set an appointment. I can fix that.
Yeah.
You set 100 appointments and you can't close a sale. I can fix that. But I'm not going to call and get you out of bed in the morning.
It's like when you come from our backgrounds, you really appreciate a lead a little bit different than other people do. Absolutely. I ask for referrals when I'm selling. I'll just be like, hey, send me some people, because that's free. Mm-hmm. It doesn't cost me anything to ask that. And if I've done a good job, like we were taught to almost like make a person feel guilty if they wouldn't give us a referral. But there was some strategy behind that, because it was supposed to be that if you built trust, if you built a loyalty with that person, that they should naturally, the progression should be that they trust you to do something else. And I mean, like you said, we both went through that sales boot camp, and it's a different world. Like I don't know. I know that you still do table appointments.
I do. This is very familiar to me. This is the way I sell.
I know. That's just, I used to be able to I was really good, man. Like I was super young and I could be able to write upside down. Mm-hmm. And that was like my lead in. A lot of people didn't know I was dyslexic. So, I mean, I'd be sitting here writing in cursive and everything else upside down. It was just like me doing my normal thing, but people's jaws are just hitting the floor as that's happening. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, I've been doing this for a minute. And I'm like, I got 2 peach hair fuzzes kicking at that time. Like I said, I probably hit puberty somewhere in my 20s. Mm-hmm. And, I was just I would go out there and, I listened. I built a lot of friendships out of that. Like it was a very genuine, very natural sort of thing. And that, we meet people in this, and then what becomes addicting and what we do is we're able to help people, and it always changes. Every single day there's a totally different day. So I always say we attract the ADD people of the world to this. Like I can't hire you if you don't have ADD. You know what I mean? Because we need you to not have that one track mind. We need you to be able to do paperwork and order lunch and that's where I do my best work. I always say my octopus is my favorite animal. Right. Because it has 8 legs. And I feel like if I had more arms and legs or whatever, I could probably do a lot more. Mm-hmm.
At the same time, we also need those directed people to clean up after us right behind me.
True. That's where the wife comes in with that, right? She's just come in with the whip right behind me. So keep me in the straight and narrow with that. She's been a huge part of, my success. And a lot of people don't realize like how much that really, really plays a part of having a good partner, not necessarily a wife, but a good partner that's with you, that is supportive of you, somebody that, thinks about you. And, Courtney might be that person for you. Like you were saying, she is super supportive. She helps with your business. And I love seeing that for you because she's so supportive of everything you do. Like there was some kind of commercial I had seen of you recently. It was, you had the cowboy hat on. So I know you got your hat here and stuff. You want to put it on? Get you to put your hat on or whatever. We get a few different clips. And then, so you're an Iowa native too, right? So I think you brought some toys with you here today too.
I did.
You did?
I did.
So can we see those toys?
Which one do you want?
Something is...
So that's probably the most unique one that I have with me today. So
this is like me around power tools. Like I shouldn't have them in my possession. Like if something breaks around the house, my wife's like, "Hey, call so-and-so."
I unloaded it. The only way you can hurt me is if you hit me with it. So
right. But yeah, this is like a mini shotgun or something, right?
It's a 357.
So what do you shoot with that?
Targets.
Okay, all right.
Hopefully, all I ever shoot is targets.
Okay, okay.
But it's unique, and I don't mind standing out.
Okay.
I'm the only guy in Iowa wearing cowboy boots and a cowboy hat and selling insurance.
Okay.
Nobody else is doing it. Nobody else is walking around with a shirt with zero bullshit insurance on the back. I mean, nobody else is doing it, and people remember me.
It's all about the standout is where it's at, because if you're not known, well, then nobody's going to do business with you because they don't know anything about you. So, you have to. I
was talking to an agent here in St. Louis on the way over here today, and I gave him my name, and he didn't know who I was, and talked a little bit about my business. He didn't know who I was, and I said that I was wearing a shirt that said "Zero Bullshit Insurance." He's like, "You were at that conference."
Yeah.
So I mean, you got to do something to stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, it really is. Because there's so many people. It's a dime a dozen, and so when you stand out, this is one of the reasons. Like I created this like wannabe hard ass, miniature, right? So because, like I said to you this morning here, I was sitting with a counselor, like I don't go to counseling because I got like mental problems, but like. I go and I talk to a therapist. It's a business coach. It's a life coach. Call it what you ever want to call it, a shrink, And I go there and me and my wife, we find ways to be able to make our marriage better, parent better, be better spouses to each other. But she would take us separately in different things, and she'd talk about different various things. And she would ask me, she would say, well, if we took everything away from you, if we stripped you down to bare bones, brass tacks, right? What would that look like? Who are you? Like, if you didn't have this or you didn't have that. Well, I mean, I'm here to tell you, there was a time that I didn't have stuff, and then I did, and then I lost it again, and then I built it all back up again. So I know how to be able to build it again, so it doesn't really bother me to know, like, that stuff's all conditional, but one thing that has remained constant is I've always stayed in the insurance space, and I've always been pretty knowledgeable in that space, and I can sell really with the best of them. But that character, there are people that, like I said, I had this kid that came up to me. He was like, "Hey, are you Mr. Insurance?" He's in Walmart of all the places, right? And then I had the guy at the gas station, that's like checking me out as I'm going through the car wash and everything. He was like, "Hey, you got that podcast?" And I thought, okay, maybe he's full of it or something. And then he started naming people that had been on this show. And I'm like, wow, this is kind of like, I didn't realize that I was attracting people to this like that. And they people are like, "Well, I love this." I started this from, there's a picture that like was my profile pictures, and I had our friend Jen. She has she's an amazing photographer, and she did some headshots for me. And I just said, Jen, I said, I want to look hard as hell. I want like the veins popping, and this is, well, I was actually in better shape back then, right? But I'm getting there, right? But it ended up that she, she took these pictures and they came out pretty good. And I sent it to, there was this guy that hit me up on Facebook from Warp Tunes. And he said, would you like for me to be able to make you a complimentary caricature? So I'm like, well, yeah, let's see what it looks like. And I still think that this guy could have like thrown a little more pec or like a bicep on there, like I think he could have done a little bit more jacked, throw a little like neck vein or something up in there. That would be awesome. Like a forehead vein or something, But, ultimately, like I said, it's a standout. I've got guys that they're friends of mine or something, and now they, instead of saying like, hi, Steve, they'll be like, look who it is. It's Mr. Insurance, And, like I said, it just kind of caught on and became something. And before I knew it, then I wanted to turn that into a consulting and a marketing company, and to be able to help other agents to find who their Mr. Insurance is, or Mrs. Insurance, I should say.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit more about, your company and what you do. Like, explain, let everybody know, like what you do, maybe beyond Medicare, because I know that it goes further beyond that. I know you do like some investments for people and whatnot.
Medicare is our bread and butter.
Okay.
I mean, that's where everything feeds from. And Medicare is now to the point where it generates its own leads. But then I'm using Medicare to cross-sell. And that's, I asked you this morning where your superpower is, and you answered that for me. My superpower is I've been able to make connections. I've been able to see how this opportunity will fit with this opportunity in a way that a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
So I'm able to take that Medicare conversation and move it into homeowners, or move it into an annuity, or move it into long-term care insurance, and offering a product that I can't afford long-term care insurance. Well, let me show you how you can. Yeah. Because you can with the money you already have, and it's not actually going to cost you anything.
One of the things that we dealt with here, like as of this morning, actually, is I have a very good friend of mine that she's kind of almost like a second mother to me. Mm-hmm. And she was looking through some of the different plans, and the agent that she currently has, they were offering more of a major medical, or at least this is the way I used to know it, as more of a major medical type of a plan, where there was a lot of limits on that, but it looked very jazzed up because it had zero copay, and it's, like it was kind of deceiving. And as I was reading through it, I mean, I'm not as much in the Medicare industry at all anymore, or even health insurance for that matter, but I still I know how to read. Right. And, I was looking through here, and I mean, still some of the basic terms, co-insurance, max out of pockets, stop loss, all that kind of stuff. Those are all still in play. And looking at it, I'm like, this looks like more of a benefit for the agent's pocket than my honorary mother.
Right.
And so I think, and she had, another really prominent insurance plan, but it was a lot more expensive. Mm-hmm. So this person came in and was giving her this product that was potentially like inferior, that she's now going to be locked into. And and when you had seen that and you pulled that out, you were like, it was really eye-opening for me to see how much of that probably happens. And I know it used to happen when I was in the industry, but just to see that, and to see that like people are potentially getting put into these plans and then they can't get out of it for the next year anyway.
Absolutely.
And they're going to be buried. And like you were talking about, collections would happen before the bill was paid.
Right.
Because the insurance company would fight out the claim.
Because that's the insurance company's way of negotiating things down.
Yeah.
They'll frustrate the provider to the point where the provider will take less money to get something.
Yeah.
Well, in the meantime, the collections are coming after you.
Yeah.
And your credit rating. The insurance company doesn't care.
Yeah.
And there's only so many pennies in a dollar. And if you tell me that you can pay $1.50 bill with my dollar bill, there's something else going on behind the scenes. There's a lot of these insurance policies. I mean, if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably worth taking a look at. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's one of the best policies that I see on the market in the Medicare industry. I'm not going to name a company, but it's on paper, it's got fantastic benefits. In use, it's probably the one that generates the most complaints. So I don't care how shiny your car is. Does it have a motor in it? Does it have a transmission? Is it going to get you where you need to be when you actually need to get there? Or is it just going to sit in the driveway and look shiny?
I know that like insurance is not a one size fits all.
It is
and
not.
Everybody has a totally different setup that they need. But when I see that somebody was on a lot more broader plan that was going to cover a whole hell of a lot more, but it's been deceived because maybe it was set up kind of like what I used to know as an HSA, right? So it's deductible loaded, right? Or front loaded. And people, they think a lot of times like those copays are deductibles. Like
right.
I know like I know that probably has not changed at all. But it's so deceptive because you're not seeing like health insurance is technically, like I always talk about it, it's not for the little stuff like going to the doctor or even going to the ER. It's for the big stuff that like is going to handicap you and your wallet if something really bad happened to you. So, I know that
you don't make a car insurance claim because it's dirty. You wash it.
Right.
And it's, you save the car insurance or the homeowner's insurance for the big claim when there's actually some money coming out of your pocket.
Exactly.
Health insurance is the same way. If it's all glitz on the front end, how deep is it?
It's just incredible to me that stuff still exists because I know that there was a lot of companies like I got out around like 2009. So that was like when the market really, really changed. That was when the introduction of Obamacare came around, that kind of thing. But I mean, there was all these products that were floating around. Short-term insurance was one. Those were actually pretty decent. But they would have these limited health plans. And I know that those still exist and that like I know a couple of guys that peddle that stuff, and I'm kind of like, that benefits them, but that's not really helping your customers. So like, why are you looking at that person and saying that's a good thing? Like, don't you see that?
Would you put your mother on this?
No, I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, literally.
That's the point. That's the point. If you won't put your mother on it.
I was just like, so we're supposed to sit down with her tomorrow.
Yeah.
To go over and to talk about some of the different things. It's like, I don't know, man. It like makes my stomach hurt sometimes, like thinking of how these different various people.
If you think you can do your insurance on your own, good luck. Would you rebuild your motor yourself? Would you build your own house? Would you let your insurance man come do your surgery? No. Why would you trust your doctor to tell you what insurance you need?
I sure as hell wouldn't let you do any surgery on me, I'll tell you that. Right? You got coming in here with like guns a-blazing, the cowboy hat, be like, who the hell is this guy? You would be that guy that like comes in as a surgeon and like, you have a cowboy hat over your freaking hair net thing and stuff. Like, I can see it.
I would do that to you. Absolutely.
For sure. Right?
All right, put him under.
Right. Like drop some M&Ms down in his freaking in the open. He won't notice. Yeah, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
He'll be all right. I really appreciate you taking the opportunity to come to visit with me. I want people to know how they can be able to reach you. How are they able to get in touch with you? Do you have a phone number and a website and all that?
Call the office phone. It's 319-841-2010. Go to zerobullshitinsurance.com. That will get you to me. Appreciateadvisors.com if you're not comfortable with the first one. My cell phone is 319-899-8222. Call me, text me. I don't care.
That's big, too, because there's a lot of people that will never give out their cell phone because – again, they're just not, they're not going to be transparent with you. They're going to hide behind that phone.
Yeah. Absolutely. If you're going to wear a brand like No Bullshit Insurance, you better stand behind it. You better nut up. So
Right, exactly. Well, man, I appreciate you being on here. Thank you for taking time to come down here, visit with me. I'm really fortunate to have you as a friend. And, again, thanks for coming down.
I appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, take care.